50,000 years had passed since Earth was destroyed. The Galactic Council, an alliance of powerful alien races, believed that humanity had been completely wiped out. Their mighty fleets had bombarded Earth with relentless firepower, erasing human civilization from the galaxy's map. The last remnants of humanity had been reduced to dust, or so the Galactic Council thought. The truth, however, was far more dangerous and far from what they imagined. Beneath the scared surface of Earth, in long-forgotten underground bunkers, a secret remained buried, one that the Council would soon regret ignoring. The Earth's final defenders, the last remnants of humankind's greatest weapon, biomechanical warbeasts, had been left behind, waiting, dormant, and ready to awaken. These creatures, designed for battle, were more than just machines. They were living organisms with artificial enhancements, created for one sole purpose: to protect humanity. The Council had underestimated them once, and they would soon learn not to make that mistake again. The Warbeasts were designed to be humanity's final line of defense. When Earth was invaded, they had been activated, meant to fight back against the Galactic Council's forces. However, in the chaos that followed Earth's destruction, they had been forced into deep slumber, their systems kept alive by an ancient AI buried within the planet. Now, all this time later, the Warbeasts remained hidden, waiting for the right moment to rise and reclaim what was taken from humanity. The opening of this story sets a scene of suspense as the Galactic Council remains unaware of the growing danger beneath their feet. In their arrogance, they thought the humans were gone forever, their civilization reduced to rubble. But what they didn't know was that Earth's final defenders were far from dead. The first trigger happens when a Galactic Council scout ship, a small reconnaissance vessel, picks up a strange ancient signal coming from a deep, uncharted part of Earth's crust. The signal is faint, buried in layers of rock and time, but it catches the attention of the scout ship's crew. Thinking it's just an old relic from Earth's ancient past, the crew decides to investigate. After all, what harm could a long-forgotten signal from a dead planet possibly mean? The scout ship approaches the location of the signal, a massive underground facility buried deep within the Earth's core. Its sensors barely detect anything at first, the ground around it seemingly lifeless. But the moment they begin to analyze the facility's remains, they unknowingly trigger a chain reaction. Something stirs beneath the surface. The dormant warbeast, once created to fight back against invaders, awakens with a deep mechanical growl. Its massive body begins to move, its glowing red eyes flickering to life. The long-dormant systems inside it hum to life as it recognizes the faint echoes of the humans it was designed to protect. In an instant, its massive form emerges from its slumber, breaking through layers of rock and soil like they were paper. The ground trembles as the warbeast roars, a sound so powerful it reverberates across the entire planet's surface. The noise is deafening, a primal cry that shakes the Earth itself. The scouts on the ship are initially unsure of what they are dealing with. They think it is simply an old relic, perhaps a forgotten war machine left behind by the humans before their extinction. But as the warbeast roars, they feel the unmistakable presence of something alive, a force more powerful than anything they expected. This was no ancient artifact. This was a threat, one that had lain dormant for millennia, now awakened by their unwitting interference. As the scout ship's crew quickly realizes their mistake, they panic. They try to retreat, but the warbeast is already on the move. Its immense strength and speed make it nearly impossible to outrun. The crew scrambles to understand what they are facing, but the truth is clear. Humanity's last line of defense is alive, and it will not allow the Council's forces to erase Earth any longer. The suspense builds rapidly as the scout ship continues to scan the warbeast from a distance. They try to gather more information, but the data they receive is incomprehensible. The sensors detect strange energy readings, unusual weapon systems, far more advanced than any technology the Galactic Council has encountered. They realize they have underestimated what the humans left behind. What the Council believed to be nothing more than a forgotten planet now turns out to be the most dangerous threat to their dominance in the galaxy. The ship's captain, trying to remain calm, orders a closer inspection, even though the danger is palpable. They still don't fully understand what they're dealing with, but the tension is mounting. The scouts know they've made a grave mistake. As they prepare to analyze further, the Warbeast's mechanical limbs tear through the ground, pushing itself toward the surface, its rage only growing with each passing moment. It's as if the Warbeast knows what it was created for, and it is finally free to fulfill that purpose. The ship's crew, initially thinking they could control the situation, is thrown into chaos. Their instruments begin to malfunction, and the entire ship shakes as the Warbeast grows closer. It's clear now that they are no match for the creature, whose size and power are beyond anything the Council had ever anticipated. The scout ship, desperate to survive, tries to make an emergency exit, but the Warbeast is already too close. In the background, the glowing eyes of the creature fix on the ship, tracking its every movement with terrifying precision. Just as the ship's crew thinks they might escape, the Warbeast leaps from the ground, its massive form crashing into the ship's hull. Metal screeches as the ship begins to disintegrate under the Warbeast's power. Inside the ship, the crew members realize the worst. They have awoken something far more terrifying than any alien force they had encountered before. The Warbeast is not only alive, it is a weapon, a sentient defender built to fight back against overwhelming forces, and it is ready to exact revenge on those who dared destroy Earth. In that moment, the realization hits. Earth's destruction was just the beginning of something much larger. The Galactic Council had destroyed a planet, but they had no idea they were also unleashing a powerful ancient enemy that had been waiting for the perfect time to strike back. The Warbeast's roar fills the air once again as the ground continues to tremble. It is the beginning of a new war, the war for Earth's vengeance, and the Galactic Council is about to face the wrath of humanity's forgotten defenders. As the crew of the scout ship is wiped out, the Warbeast stands victorious. The secrets of Earth's past have been unleashed, and the Warbeasts, those mechanical protectors, are now alive and angry. The story has only just begun, and the Galactic Council's worst nightmare is about to unfold. The quiet ruins of Earth were all that remained, a desolate reminder of what had once been a thriving planet. The Galactic Council had wiped out humanity, or so they thought. But now, after 50,000 years of silence, something stirs beneath the ground. A secret, long buried, is about to resurface, and no one is prepared for the consequences. The scout ship's crew, a group of skilled alien soldiers, lands on Earth's surface. Their mission is simple: investigate the ancient signal they've detected. They are convinced it's just another relic of Earth's dead civilization, a planet that no longer holds any significance. The crew is equipped with advanced alien weaponry, sure that nothing on this forsaken world can pose a threat to them. They step cautiously onto the crumbled landscape, unaware that they are about to awaken something far more dangerous than they ever expected. As they begin their exploration of the ruins, the air grows thick with tension. The crew moves through the wreckage, scanning for any signs of the signal's origin. But suddenly, a deafening roar cuts through the silence. The ground beneath their feet trembles violently, and the soldiers freeze, their eyes scanning the horizon. Before they can react, the Earth shakes again, and from deep within the planet's crust, something massive bursts forth. A colossal warbeast, its mechanical form glowing with ancient energy, erupts from the ground with terrifying force. The air is filled with dust and debris as the warbeast rises, its massive claws tearing through the earth like it was paper. Its eyes, glowing a bright red, lock onto the intruders. The beast's towering form looms over the crew, its body a combination of organic and mechanical, the perfect weapon designed to protect humanity. The scout ship's crew has no idea what they've just awakened. In a panic, the crew reaches for their weapons, unleashing powerful alien lasers and plasma cannons at the warbeast. The sounds of explosions fill the air as the weapons fire, but their attacks seem almost pointless. The Warbeasts' armor, reinforced with technology from a forgotten age, absorbs the blasts with ease. The soldiers quickly realize their weapons are ineffective. The Warbeast's mechanical body is far too advanced, its technology far beyond anything the Galactic Council has encountered. It roars again, its voice shaking the very air, and charges toward them with terrifying speed. The aliens scramble to defend themselves, firing wildly as the Warbeast slashes through their ranks. Its claws, sharp as razors, cut through their defenses like butter. Explosions rock the battlefield as the Warbeast's fury knows no bounds. The crew fights valiantly, but they are completely outmatched. The Warbeast moves with precision, each strike calculated and deadly. The once confident soldiers are now running for their lives, unable to match the power of this ancient weapon. Bonner, one of the soldiers, stands frozen as he watches the chaos unfold. His heart races as he realizes the true nature of the Warbeast. For a moment, time seems to slow. He had heard stories of Earth's destruction, of how the planet was obliterated by the Galactic Council's forces. But seeing the Warbeast in action, he begins to understand the true extent of the Council's mistake. This wasn't just some animal, some mindless monster. The Warbeasts were designed for one purpose: to protect humanity at all costs. And now, one of them has awoken, seeking vengeance for the extinction of its creators. Bonner's mind races. He had never believed in the old myths about humanity's hidden weapons. He had been taught that Earth was nothing more than a forgotten dead world, a casualty of the Council's superiority. But now, standing before the Warbeast, he realizes the truth. The Warbeasts weren't just designed to fight. They were designed to survive. They were created to protect humanity from invaders, and now, in their fury, they were exacting revenge for the destruction of their creators. The realization hits him hard, and for a moment, he hesitates. He is a soldier, trained to fight, to kill. But looking at the Warbeast, he sees something more. He sees the pain of a species that was wiped out without mercy, and he knows that this is not just a battle for survival, it is a battle for justice. But that understanding does nothing to slow the Warbeast's onslaught. Bonner's moment of reflection is shattered as the beast charges again, its massive form crashing into the crew's defenses. The aliens continue to fight, but their weapons are useless against the Warbeast's advanced armor. It moves with terrifying speed, its claws ripping through alien soldiers with ease. The once proud crew of the scout ship is now in a desperate fight for survival. The battle is chaotic, with explosions and gunfire echoing through the ruined landscape. But no matter how much the aliens fight back, they can't seem to stop the Warbeast's rampage. Bonner is thrown to the ground as the Warbeast charges past him, sending shockwaves through the air. He barely has time to recover before the beast turns back, its glowing red eyes locking onto him. In that moment, Bonner realizes how futile their struggle is. The Warbeast is unstoppable, and they are simply pawns in a much larger game. The beast's roar fills the air once again, and Bonner knows that they are on the brink of annihilation. As the Warbeast charges toward the remaining soldiers, Bonner makes a split-second decision. He rushes toward the fallen weapons, grabbing a laser rifle from one of his fallen comrades. With a steady hand, he aims the weapon at the Warbeast, firing with everything he has left. The shot hits the Warbeast's armor, but it barely makes a dent. The creature turns toward him, its massive form towering over him like a nightmare made real. Bonner's heart races, but he doesn't back down. He knows that this is a fight they can't win. But he has to try. He has to do something. With a final, desperate cry, he charges forward, hoping to do whatever damage he can before the inevitable happens. The Warbeast raises its claw, preparing to strike the final blow, and in that moment, Bonner knows there is no escape. The ground shakes once again as the Warbeast swings its claw down. Bonner's fate is sealed, and the final clash between the ancient weapon and the invaders will decide the outcome of the battle. The scout ship's crew is on the brink of destruction, but the Warbeast is far from finished. It is only just beginning, and the story of humanity's forgotten vengeance is far from over. As the Warbeast prepares to finish the job, the last of the crew makes their stand. But their efforts are in vain. The battle rages on, but it is clear that the Warbeast is the true force to be reckoned with. The Galactic Council has no idea what it has unleashed. The Warbeast roars as it pummels through the remaining alien soldiers. Each strike from its massive claws sends shockwaves through the ground, and the air is thick with the smell of smoke and destruction. Its eyes, glowing with an intense red hue, scan the battlefield, calculating its next move. It's a machine of war, built to annihilate anything in its path. But beneath the mechanical surface, there's something more, a memory, a connection to the past. As the Warbeast moves through the battlefield, it suddenly freezes. For a moment, it seems as though it has lost all sense of time and place. The clash of weapons and the screams of alien soldiers fade into the background as it recalls something far older. Memories long buried, tucked away deep within its mechanical brain, begin to surface. The flashbacks come in waves, fragmented and disjointed, but they are vivid. The Warbeast's creators, human soldiers like those it once protected, flash before its eyes. It sees them as they were, fierce and determined, yet filled with an unspoken sorrow. The humans, once full of life, fought valiantly to defend their world against the Galactic Council's overwhelming forces. The Warbeasts were their final line of defense, the last hope in a dying world. But despite their best efforts, Earth fell. The Council's forces overwhelmed humanity, wiping out cities, erasing entire civilizations, and leaving nothing but ashes in their wake. The Warbeasts, designed to protect humanity, were lost in the chaos, left dormant beneath the Earth's surface, waiting for the day they would be needed again. That day had arrived, and the Warbeast, the last of its kind, was now fighting for the vengeance of its creators. As it battles, the Warbeast experiences a surge of emotion. It is not just a mindless weapon. It is the embodiment of humanity's final hope, a living testament to their strength and resilience. The memories of the humans it was built to protect flood its mind. It remembers the faces of the soldiers, the civilians, the children. It remembers the love, the fear, and the hope they had as they fought to survive. In its actions, there is more than just the desire for destruction. There is a sense of duty, of loyalty to those it was created to defend. The Warbeast pauses in its assault, its mechanical limbs trembling as it recalls a final image. A human child, clutching a small doll as explosions tore through the city around her. The memory is painful, a stark reminder of the innocence lost in the wake of the Council's attack. In that moment, the Warbeast realizes that its battle is not just for revenge. It is for the preservation of humanity's legacy, for the memory of those it once protected. Meanwhile, on the battlefield, Bonner, one of the alien soldiers, is struggling to survive. He had been a staunch believer in the Galactic Council's superiority, convinced that Earth was a dying world that posed no real threat. But as he watches the Warbeast in action, he begins to understand the truth. The Warbeast is not just a creature of destruction. It is a symbol of the humanity that once was, a reminder of the strength and spirit of those who fought to protect their world. As Bonner faces the Warbeast, he experiences a moment of clarity. He sees the creature not as a mindless monster, but as a sentient being, a guardian with a purpose. The realization hits him hard, and it is in this moment of understanding that he begins to see the error of his people. The Galactic Council had destroyed not just a planet, but a civilization. They had erased an entire species, and now they were facing the consequences of their actions. Bonner knows that there is no turning back. In the final moments of the battle, Bonner faces the Warbeast one last time. His weapon, already damaged in the earlier skirmish, has no more power. His comrades have fallen, and he is alone in the midst of the wreckage. He watches the Warbeast approach, its glowing eyes locking onto him. The Warbeast hesitates, and for a brief moment, there is silence. Bonner knows what he must do. With his last breath, Bonner speaks, his voice filled with regret. "I never understood what you were," he says, his eyes filled with a mix of fear and sorrow. "You were not just animals. You were humanity's last hope." The Warbeast pauses, its eyes flickering as it processes Bonner's words. The battle stops, if only for a moment. It is as if the creature has recognized the truth of what Bonner has said. The Warbeast lowers its claws, its form momentarily frozen in place. In that fleeting instant, Bonner's words resonate deep within it, a reminder of the humanity that created it. But it is too late for Bonner. The final blow comes swiftly, and his body falls to the ground, a casualty of a war that could never be won. The Warbeast stands over Bonner's fallen form, its mechanical chest heaving as it absorbs the full weight of the moment. It is not just fighting for vengeance. It is fighting for a future that may never come. The death of Bonner, a soldier who had finally understood the Warbeast's true purpose, serves as a turning point. The Warbeast is not just an instrument of destruction. It is the last piece of humanity's legacy, the last reminder of a world that once was. As the Warbeast turns away from Bonner's body, it sets its sights on the remaining alien forces, but something has changed within it. The battle is no longer just about revenge. It is about honoring the memory of those who were lost. The Warbeast is not just fighting for itself. It is fighting for a future that may never come, a future that was stolen by the Galactic Council. The fight rages on, but now the Warbeast fights with a renewed sense of purpose. It is not just a machine of war. It is a symbol of the humanity that was lost, the last living reminder of a once great civilization. As it charges into battle, the echoes of the past ring in its ears, urging it forward. The Warbeast is humanity's last hope, and it will not stop until the Galactic Council has paid for its sins. In the end, the Warbeast's battle is not just one of physical strength. It is a battle of memory, of emotion, and of a world that was lost. The true power of the Warbeast lies not in its claws or its armor, but in the humanity that still burns within it. And as the last soldier of Earth falls, the Warbeast's roar fills the air, a cry of victory, of remembrance, and of hope for a future that may never come. The news of the Warbeast's reawakening spread like wildfire through the Galactic Council. Panic and confusion swept through the high-ranking officials as they realized the full scale of the threat they now faced. For centuries, the Council had believed that Earth's destruction had been the final act, wiping out humanity and their Warbeasts for good. But the rise of the Warbeasts, dormant for 50,000 years, shattered that belief. The Council had underestimated Earth, its people, and the creatures they had created. In the command centers of the Galactic Council, officers scrambled to devise a strategy. Their initial plan to eradicate the Warbeasts with overwhelming force had failed. The Warbeasts were not mindless monsters. They were highly intelligent, organized, and, most importantly, fueled by a burning rage for vengeance. The Council's arrogance had awakened a sleeping giant, and now they had to deal with the consequences. As a result, the Council gathered its mightiest fleet, thousands of ships equipped with the most advanced technology in the galaxy. Massive dreadnoughts and sleek destroyers, each armed with devastating weapons, were dispatched to Earth. Their mission was clear: wipe out the Warbeasts and prevent humanity's legacy from rising again. But the Warbeasts were no longer the disorganized creatures they once were. They had grown, learned, and evolved in the time they had been dormant. Now, they were ready to strike back. With the first wave of ships entering Earth's orbit, the Warbeasts began their counterattack. They had been preparing for this moment, organizing their forces, and using every advantage they could muster. The Warbeasts' ability to cloak themselves in the atmosphere allowed them to move undetected, slipping past the fleet's sensors and setting up ambushes in the most unexpected places. They were no longer just mindless destroyers. They were soldiers with a purpose, carrying out guerrilla warfare with brutal precision. The first skirmish was a shock to the Council. Their ships, which had once ruled the stars, were now being torn apart by unseen forces. One by one, the alien warships were picked off, their armor cracked and shattered by weapons of unimaginable power. The Warbeasts' advanced technology, scavenged from the ruins of Earth, proved to be more than a match for the Council's superiority. The skies over Earth became a war zone, filled with explosions and flashing lights as the Warbeasts launched their attacks. The Galactic Council ships, despite their advanced weaponry and shields, were no match for the Warbeasts' raw power. The Warbeasts leaped from ship to ship with terrifying speed, ripping apart hulls with their claws and tearing through energy shields with ease. Their movements were fluid and graceful, as if they had been born to fight in the vast expanse of space. They moved with purpose, knowing exactly where to strike to cripple the enemy. The battle became a chaotic dance of destruction. Explosions filled the void of space, lighting up the sky with fiery bursts. Alien warships, once so powerful, were now mere targets for the Warbeasts' fury. They used their advanced technology, weapons stolen from Earth's old military arsenal, to devastating effect. Plasma cannons and energy blades tore through the Council's ships, leaving them in ruins. The Warbeasts' claws cut through reinforced metal like it was paper, their strength unmatched by anything the Council could throw at them. On one of the Council's flagship vessels, the crew watched in horror as their defenses crumbled. "We're losing," a panicked officer shouted as the Warbeasts closed in on their ship. The massive dreadnought shook violently as a Warbeast landed on its hull, claws tearing into the armor. The ship's weapons fired uselessly at the creature, the blasts absorbed by the Warbeast's hardened skin. The Warbeast's eyes glowed red as it unleashed a barrage of missiles, tearing through the ship's core. Despite their best efforts to fight back, the Council's forces were overwhelmed by the sheer ferocity of the Warbeasts. The Warbeasts seemed to be everywhere at once, attacking from all directions. The Council's soldiers, trained in the art of war, now found themselves at the mercy of an enemy that was relentless and unstoppable. Each battle was a reminder of how little the Council had truly understood about Earth and its inhabitants. They had believed the Warbeasts were mindless animals, but they were wrong. The Warbeasts were not just beasts of destruction. They were intelligent, driven by the memories of their creators, and guided by a deep sense of purpose. Every strike, every blow they landed, was not just an act of revenge, but a message to the Galactic Council. They had awakened to reclaim what was once theirs, to ensure that the Galactic Council would never again destroy a civilization they deemed weak. As the battle continued, the Warbeasts' tactics became more sophisticated. They used their cloaking devices to hide among the wreckage of destroyed ships, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. They infiltrated the Council's vessels, boarding them silently and attacking from within. The soldiers aboard the Council's ships were left in a constant state of fear, knowing that at any moment a Warbeast could appear from the shadows and tear through their ranks. The once proud Galactic Council fleet was now a shadow of its former self. Ships that had once been symbols of fear and power were now floating wrecks, their once glowing engines dimmed by the relentless assault of the Warbeasts. The Warbeasts moved with ruthless efficiency, cutting through the Council's defenses and leaving nothing but destruction in their wake. The visual storytelling of the battle was nothing short of spectacular. The Warbeasts' movements were fluid and fast, like predators in their natural habitat. They jumped from one ship to another with ease, their claws digging into the hulls, their eyes scanning for their next target. Explosions filled the void of space as the Warbeasts unleashed their weapons, tearing apart enemy ships with a single blow. The scenes were cinematic, with each moment more intense than the last. The Galactic Council's response was swift, but it was too little, too late. The Warbeasts had already adapted, already planned their counteroffensive. The battle raged on, but it was clear that the Council's fleet was no match for the fury and the power of the Warbeasts. The skies over Earth were filled with the fire of combat, and the Warbeasts were determined to ensure that this time, the Council would learn the price of underestimating humanity. The Warbeasts' attack on the fleet was a reminder of Earth's strength, its will to survive, and its relentless pursuit of justice. They were not just fighting for themselves, they were fighting for the memory of those who had been lost, for the future of humanity that had been stolen from them. And as the battle continued, it became clear that the Warbeasts would stop at nothing to ensure that the Galactic Council paid for its sins. The tide of war had turned, and Earth's forgotten defenders were ready to claim their revenge. News of the Warbeasts' reawakening spread quickly through the corridors of the Galactic Council. The once confident and powerful leaders of the galaxy were now filled with a rare sense of panic. For thousands of years, they had controlled the fate of countless planets, wiped out entire civilizations, and crushed any force that dared to challenge their authority. But the Warbeasts, long thought to be extinct, had returned. And this time, they were not the mindless monsters the Council had assumed them to be. The Warbeasts had evolved in their long slumber, and now they were fully awakened, more powerful than ever. Driven by the rage of their creators and the devastation of Earth's destruction, they were a force unlike anything the Council had faced before. The memory of their creators, the humans they were made to protect, fueled their every move, and it was clear that the Warbeasts had only one goal: revenge. The Council had underestimated them, and now the consequences were about to unfold. Realizing the full scope of the danger, the Galactic Council quickly sprang into action. They could not afford to let the Warbeasts regain control of Earth. A massive fleet was assembled, the largest the Council had ever deployed. The fleet was composed of thousands of warships, dreadnoughts, carriers, and advanced destroyers, all equipped with the latest in alien weaponry. Their mission was clear: wipe out the Warbeasts and make sure that no trace of humanity or its creations remained. They would stop at nothing to eliminate this threat once and for all. As the fleet made its way toward Earth, tensions ran high among the Council's military commanders. They knew the stakes had never been higher. If the Warbeasts were allowed to continue their rampage, the consequences would be catastrophic. Earth had been destroyed once, and the Galactic Council could not allow it to rise again. The fleet was their last hope of stopping the Warbeasts. Meanwhile, the Warbeasts were already preparing for battle. The time of waiting was over. They had been silent for centuries, but now they were ready to fight. The Warbeasts had always been more than just simple creatures. They were living weapons, bred for one purpose: to protect humanity. But when humanity fell, so did their creator's legacy. The Warbeasts had been left behind, alone in the ruins of Earth, but their purpose remained. And now they would fight for that purpose, for their lost creators, and for the vengeance that burned in their hearts. The Warbeasts were not alone in their fight. Over the years, they had built an underground network, a resistance of sorts. They had developed advanced cloaking technology, taken from the ruins of Earth's old military, which allowed them to remain hidden from the Council's censors. The Warbeasts knew that their strength lay not in brute force alone, but in strategy and surprise. They would fight like shadows, striking when least expected. As the Council's fleet approached Earth's atmosphere, the Warbeasts made their first move. The battle began with a series of guerrilla attacks. The Warbeasts used their cloaking devices to ambush the invading ships. One by one, the alien warships began to fall, torn apart by the Warbeasts' superior technology and raw strength. The fleet's defenses were no match for the Warbeasts' advanced weaponry. Lasers and plasma blasts fired wildly, but they were no match for the Warbeasts' armored hides and devastating counterattacks. The Warbeasts' attacks were swift and brutal. They moved through the sky like predators, their massive forms leaping from one ship to another, ripping through hulls with their razor-sharp claws. The explosions rocked the battlefield as Warbeast after Warbeast launched devastating assaults on the fleet. The Council's ships, despite their technological superiority, were overwhelmed by the sheer power and fury of the Warbeasts. One of the most intense battles took place between a Warbeast and one of the Council's largest dreadnoughts. The dreadnought, a towering vessel brimming with weapons, fired everything it had at the Warbeast. Plasma cannons and railguns fired with devastating force, but the Warbeast simply shrugged off the blows, its thick hide absorbing the blasts. In one powerful leap, the Warbeast reached the dreadnought's hull, its claws digging into the metal like a knife through butter. The alien soldiers aboard the dreadnought scrambled in panic as the Warbeast tore through the ship's defenses, ripping open bulkheads and destroying vital systems. The ship began to break apart, pieces of it falling away into space. The battle was like something out of a nightmare for the Council's forces. The Warbeasts were everywhere, and they moved with a coordinated precision that caught the fleet off guard. The Warbeasts had not only strength on their side, they had intelligence and cunning. They used the terrain of space to their advantage, leaping from ship to ship, tearing apart enemy vessels from the inside out. The alien soldiers on board the Council's ships fought bravely, but it was clear that they were outmatched. The Council's fleet had once been considered invincible, but the Warbeasts shattered that illusion. The Warbeasts were no longer the simple creatures they had once been. They had been created by humans for a specific purpose, but in their fight for survival and revenge, they had become something more. They were warriors, each one with the intelligence, strength, and determination to fight for the memory of their lost creators. The visual spectacle of the battle was nothing short of cinematic. The skies over Earth became a swirling mass of destruction as Warbeasts launched their attacks. Bright flashes of light illuminated the dark expanse of space as explosions tore through the once pristine warships of the Galactic Council. The ships that had once ruled the galaxy were now nothing more than burning wrecks, left in the wake of the Warbeasts' fury. In the midst of the chaos, the Warbeasts' tactics became more apparent. They were not just fighting with brute force, they were using strategy. They attacked from the shadows, ambushing the fleet with precision strikes. They used cloaking devices to hide from the Council's sensors, making it nearly impossible to track their movements. The Warbeasts would strike, retreat into the darkness, and then strike again, their attacks coming from all directions. The Galactic Council, despite its technological superiority, could not keep up with the Warbeasts' relentless assault. Their weapons fired into the dark void of space, but the Warbeasts were always one step ahead. The Council's fleet, once a symbol of power and invincibility, was being dismantled piece by piece. The Warbeasts were winning, and it was clear that the Galactic Council had made a grave mistake in underestimating them. The battle raged on, but the outcome was becoming increasingly clear. The Warbeasts had the upper hand. Their strength, intelligence, and advanced weaponry were too much for the Council to handle. With each passing moment, the Galactic Council's forces were pushed further and further back. The skies were filled with fire, the echoes of battle ringing out through the vastness of space. The Galactic Council had made their move, but now they were paying the price. The Warbeasts were here to reclaim their home, and they would not stop until they had achieved their revenge. The battle had raged for hours, the skies above Earth illuminated by the fiery explosions of ships and the deafening sounds of war. The Galactic Council's fleet had been decimated. No longer was there a powerful armada of advanced warships threatening the Warbeasts. Now there was only one left, but it was the ultimate weapon, an eye-controlled warship named the Titanium Titan. This ship was the Council's last chance, its final card to play. The Titanium Titan was a marvel of technological advancement, designed to obliterate planets with its powerful weaponry and massive firepower. The Council had put all their faith in this machine, believing it to be unstoppable. But the Warbeasts were determined to finish what they had started. They would protect their home, no matter the cost. The Warbeasts, though severely outnumbered, were not deterred. Their rage, driven by the memory of their lost creators and their desire for revenge, burned within them like an inferno. They had reclaimed Earth, but they were not finished. The Titanium Titan was not just another warship. It was the symbol of everything the Galactic Council had done to destroy humanity. To let it stand meant letting their creators' deaths be in vain, and that was something the Warbeasts could not allow. They would fight to the bitter end. As the Titanium Titan approached, its massive form casting a shadow over Earth, the Warbeasts launched their final offensive. Their forces, now fully coordinated and synchronized, moved in a coordinated strike against the eye-controlled behemoth. The Warbeasts knew that they had one chance, one shot, to defeat this last weapon of the Council. They moved with a precision that matched their intelligence, using their advanced technology to counter the Titan's massive firepower. They were not simply fighting with strength. They were fighting with strategy, using every tactic they had learned over the years of battle. The battle was like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. The Titanium Titan opened fire first, its weapons unleashing devastating bursts of energy at the Warbeasts. Massive blasts of plasma and laser fire lit up the sky, each shot capable of obliterating entire cities. The Warbeasts, however, were not afraid. They used their cloaking devices to dodge the Titan's attacks, slipping in and out of the shadows. The Warbeasts had learned from their previous fights. This battle would not be won with brute force alone. They had to outsmart the eye. As the Warbeasts launched their attack, they used every piece of advanced technology at their disposal. They employed EMP blasts to disable the Titan's shields and weapons, using Earth's old military technology to turn the tide in their favor. The Warbeasts fought with a fury that was both calculated and instinctive, determined to protect their home and avenge their creators. The battle seemed to stretch on forever, the vastness of space becoming the stage for their deadly dance. The Titanium Titan, despite its advanced AI and immense firepower, could not keep up with the Warbeasts' relentless assault. The Warbeasts attacked in waves, each strike more brutal than the last. The Titan tried to retaliate, but its movements were slow and predictable. The AI was designed to be a powerful weapon, but it lacked the one thing that the Warbeasts had in abundance: emotion. The Titanium Titan was a machine, and while it was capable of immense destruction, it could not understand the motivations of its enemies. The Warbeasts, driven by the memories of their creators and the pain of their loss, fought with everything they had. They were not just fighting for survival, they were fighting for something much more important: the memory of humanity. As the battle escalated, massive orbital bombardments rained down from the Titan, shaking the very ground beneath the Warbeasts' feet. The Warbeasts fought back with equal intensity, using their superior agility to leap from ship to ship, tearing apart the Titanium Titan's hull. The fight was a mix of close-quarters combat and high-tech warfare, with the two sides exchanging brutal blows. The Warbeasts used every ounce of their strength and intelligence to outmaneuver the Titan, knowing that their victory depended on their ability to adapt and counter the AI's every move. Despite their best efforts, the Titanium Titan was beginning to show signs of wear. Its once impenetrable shields flickered and weakened under the onslaught of the Warbeasts. The Warbeasts, sensing their moment of victory, pushed harder. One by one, the ship's systems failed. The AI began to make mistakes, and the Warbeasts exploited every weakness they found. The final moments of the battle were a chaotic blend of fire and destruction. The Titanium Titan, the last hope of the Galactic Council, was beginning to fall apart. The Warbeasts had done it. They had won. But victory came at a great cost. As the Titanium Titan was torn apart, the protagonist Warbeast, the leader of the pack, moved in for the final blow. It had been the driving force behind the Warbeasts' rebellion, leading them in their fight for vengeance. But as the Titan exploded in a fiery cloud of debris, the Warbeast felt a deep sense of loss. The fight had been long and hard, and though they had defeated the Council's ultimate weapon, the victory felt hollow. The Warbeasts had reclaimed Earth, but the cost had been unimaginable. The protagonist Warbeast stood in the wreckage of the battle, its massive form silhouetted against the backdrop of burning ships. It reflected on the events that had led them here: the destruction of Earth, the fall of humanity, and the creation of the Warbeasts. The Warbeast's final moments were filled with emotion as it looked out at the remains of the battlefield. The memories of its creators flooded its mind, and for a moment, It could almost hear their voices. It remembered the humans they had once been, the civilization that had flourished, and the destruction that had been wrought upon them. The Warbeasts had fought for a purpose, and now that purpose had been fulfilled. They had avenged humanity, but at the cost of their own existence. The Warbeasts were no longer just creatures. They were the last legacy of a forgotten civilization, a symbol of humanity's final stand. In its final moments, the protagonist Warbeast understood that the fight had been worth it. The revenge had been achieved, and Earth had been reclaimed. But it was a bittersweet victory. The Warbeasts had fought for their creators, and now they had given everything to honor them. As the Warbeast fell, its massive form crumpling under the weight of its injuries, it knew that its work was done. The Warbeasts had won, but the cost was too great. The final battle was over, and the legacy of Earth's fallen civilization would live on, remembered only by the few who had survived to tell the tale. The Warbeasts had taken their stand, and in doing so, they had sealed their place in history. The battle had ended, and the once vast fleet of the Galactic Council had been reduced to nothing more than debris scattered across the vast expanse of space. The Warbeasts had achieved their ultimate goal. The warships of the alien invaders had crumbled beneath their unrelenting assault, and the Titanium Titan, the Council's last hope, had been destroyed in a fiery explosion. Earth, the planet that had once been devastated and abandoned, was now free from the tyranny of the Galactic Council. The Warbeasts stood victorious, their enemies retreating, leaving nothing but the remnants of a war that had lasted far too long. But as the Warbeasts surveyed the battlefield, they found themselves at a crossroads. They had fought not just for survival, but for the memory of humanity, avenging the millions who had been lost when the Council had attacked Earth. The Warbeasts had been humanity's final defense, created for one purpose: to protect the humans they had been designed to defend. They had succeeded, but now, in the silence that followed the chaos of battle, they were left with one haunting question: what comes next? The surviving Warbeasts stood in the rubble of the battlefield, their glowing eyes scanning the sky as the remaining alien forces fled. Earth was theirs, but the universe beyond Earth seemed so vast and unknown. The Warbeasts, though born from the ashes of humanity's destruction, were now left without a purpose. Their creators had been wiped out, their civilization reduced to dust, and though they had avenged their fallen, the galaxy had moved on. Would the Warbeasts be remembered, or would they be forgotten, just like the humans who had created them? The protagonist Warbeast, standing tall among its fallen comrades, couldn't help but wonder what its role was now. It had fought for humanity's memory, but in the aftermath of the battle, it felt a deep sense of loss. The Warbeasts had fulfilled their duty, but the world they had been designed to protect was no longer there. There was no longer a need to fight. The galaxy had changed, and the Warbeasts had to decide where they fit into this new world. As the dust settled, and the stars shone brightly above them, the protagonist Warbeast let out a triumphant roar, one that echoed across the battlefield and into the stars beyond. This roar was not just a symbol of victory. It was a declaration that humanity's legacy would never be forgotten. The Warbeasts were not just mindless creatures of war. They were the last testament to humanity's strength, resilience, and determination. The galaxy might have forgotten Earth, but the Warbeasts would ensure that the memory of their creators lived on. For the Warbeasts, this moment was one of reflection. Their creation had been driven by destruction and vengeance, but now they stood as protectors of a planet that had been lost to time. The legacy of humanity, the planet Earth, and everything that had once been was carried forward in the Warbeasts. They had been the last warriors standing between the Galactic Council and the destruction of Earth. But now, with the galaxy in ruins and no immediate enemy in sight, they were free to create their own future. The Warbeasts had been designed to destroy, but they had become something more. They had become the protectors of Earth, and through their victory, they had ensured that humanity's story would never be lost to the annals of history. The fight was over, But the journey for the Warbeasts was only just beginning. What would they do now? How would they move forward in a universe that had forgotten their creators? As the protagonist Warbeast stood alone, staring up at the stars, it realized something important. The fight for humanity's legacy was not over. The Warbeasts were the last remnants of the civilization that had once thrived on Earth. They carried the memories of their creators, the humans who had been so full of life. And now it was their responsibility to make sure that legacy endured. Earth had been avenged, but it was also reborn. The Warbeasts were the new guardians of Earth's future, and they would defend it for as long as they existed. With that realization came a sense of peace. The Warbeasts no longer had to fight for vengeance or destruction. Their role had shifted. They were protectors, guardians of the past, present, and future. The stars above them were not just lights in the sky, but beacons of hope, signaling the dawn of a new era for Earth and its defenders. The protagonist Warbeast, its head held high and its body scared from battle, turned away from the wreckage of the battlefield and toward the planet below. Earth was no longer a symbol of destruction and loss. It was a symbol of rebirth. The Warbeasts had reclaimed it, and now they would rebuild it. The legacy of humanity would live on, carried forward by these creatures, and with it, the strength, the courage, and the unwavering spirit that had once made humanity the dominant force in the galaxy. The final moments of the Warbeasts' victory were filled with a sense of hope. They had avenged humanity's fall, but they had also forged a new future for themselves. They were no longer just creations of war. They were the protectors of Earth, and their fight had ensured that the galaxy would never forget what had happened on that distant planet. Earth's fall had been a tragedy, but the Warbeasts' rise had been a triumph. They were the last living legacy of humanity's strength, and in the silence that followed the battle, they stood as a reminder that no matter how much time passes, no matter how many civilizations rise and fall, the legacy of Earth would never be forgotten. And so the Warbeasts, standing together beneath the stars, roared once more, a roar of triumph, of hope, and of the enduring strength of humanity. Their victory was not just a battle won, but a promise kept. Earth's legacy would live on, reborn through the Warbeasts who had fought to protect it. The dawn of a new era had begun, and the galaxy would forever remember the fall of Earth and the rise of its vengeful protectors.